Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. We're the Movie Couple. I'm Wendy.
I'm Dustin.
And this is our review for Mufasa, the Lion King. Lost and alone, orphan cub Mufasa meets a sympathetic lion named Taka, the heir to a royal bloodline. The chance meeting sets in motion an expansive journey of an extraordinary group of misfits searching for their destinies. Now, if you've already watched our trailer reaction for Mufasa, then you already know that we're both going into this a little bit sort of, why do we need this origin story when we already kind of got, it's
we know what happens. We know what happens to
original
Scar. We know what happens to Mufasa. We kind of were curious on what kind of story that would rouse our interest, so to speak, when going to go see this movie. I felt like it was kind of very unnecessary, so my expectations for this movie was already kind of low when we went in.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I think one of the two things that I really was looking forward to for this movie is the director, who is Barry Jenkins, Oscar award-winning director, and as well as the music by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And I believe that he worked on this over working on Moana 2, because there's just so much. I get having to do songs for two movies that came out very close together feels like a lot, and so I can see him wanting to prioritize one project over the other. I don't know if that is 100% accurate, but if it is, he decided he wanted to focus on The Lion King, or should I say Mufasa, and I'm guessing that's because he's done the music for Moana, and he wanted to try something a little bit
new,
yeah,
a little different.
So I get it. So those were kind of the couple of things that I was looking forward to. I will also say that watching the trailer, we immediately noticed that the animals' faces, the lions, had more expression. They showed more emotion, which is something that was really lacking in the first live action film, and that was one of the main complaints for a lot of the member of the audience.
And that was actually something nice throughout the movie.
Yes.
Was to be able to have these facial expressions and these more big characteristics that we could see and relate to throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, I will say that was definitely a plus, a huge improvement from the first one. Visually, the first one was stunning. I still can't believe that was all, not real.
It's all CGI.
Yeah, and it looks incredible, and I think with the technology that we have now, since the first film with, I think it was Jon Favreau, right?
Yeah.
It's even advanced more. There are some scenes that I was right, they didn't go out and shoot this. This is all just created, which was completely insane. And it looks really stunning. And we watched it in IMAX. So that is one where, if the picture's not good enough, you don't put it in IMAX. And they were confident. They're like, yes, we're going to put it in IMAX. And it looked gorgeous. And I thought it sounded like the sound effects and everything sounded really good.
And something that they put at the very beginning that really did kind of tug at my heartstrings was in memory of James Earl Jones.
Yes.
Which is, of course, how can you not think of Mufasa and not think of James Earl Jones at the same time, because he is that character. He was that voice that brought that character to life, and I thought it was such a beautiful memento to do at the very beginning of the movie.
And just to follow up on that, I thought Aaron Pierre did a really good job as Mufasa. He wasn't trying to be like James Earl Jones, but he also
tried to capture that deep voice.
Yeah, but he has that sort of bassy tone in it. But because when we meet them in the movie, for the majority part of the film, they're not quite mature lions quite just yet, so I see how he's not aged up to getting that booming voice, but you can hear it. You hear it a lot in the film where you're like, oh, that's really good. And I thought he really captured the essence and how Mufasa that we know would speak. There was kind of that cadence that he spoke, and same, I would say the same thing for Taka as well. So I thought that was really impressive. Now let's go ahead and talk about the story, because right at the beginning we're kind of why is this origin story necessary? I just said the same thing about Solo.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're why do we have to know about everything? And one of the main things that I was kind of curious about was that they made Mufasa and Taka they come from completely different
bloodlines.
Bloodlines and different dens, different litters. They're not related at all.
No, not even close to being related.
And they just kind of meet by happenstance, where in a way Taka saved Mufasa, and so Mufasa was able to live with, his pride, his lion, whatever, his den.
They made the story a little, kind of a little all over the place, I feel like, because it was Mufasa and what was going on with his family, and then Taka and what was going on with his family, and then what was happening with them together. It felt like there was, like, they added a lot of unnecessary backstory to where it would have just been simpler to have them be from the same litter.
Yeah. So that was an interesting choice, and we were kind of talking about how they didn't really need to do that. If I mean, I don't want to spoil too much of the movie, but there was a way for them to actually have been blood brothers and still have the story come out exactly how it would have ended. So it was kind of like a lot of U-turns and zigzags to get to where we know it was going to end. So that was really interesting. I will say one of the things that I did like about the story was in the very beginning how their sort of like brotherhood, like how close-knit they were in the very beginning, and how much Taka was excited to have another cub his age that could be like his brother. So I did enjoy the brotherhood there, but after that, I actually think it was after the first song. First of all, the way they build it, and they didn't even build into it. It was just like, song start, go. And it just was very abrupt. I didn't really like any of the songs, unfortunately, in this movie. There was one that I liked. I don't want to say which one just in case it like gives away the plot of the movie, but it happens later on. I think it's like the 5th song on the soundtrack, if you're brave enough to look and not spoil it for yourself.
I feel that way about a lot of the songs too, is the fact that it was kind of like dialogue, we're breaking out into song, and we're like, wait, there was no build up, there was no crescendo, it was just into the song.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the songs just didn't quite have that Lin-Manuel Miranda magic that some of his other songs have had. I really do. There's a couple songs to where the title of the song is the word that they say the most in the song.
Yes.
And they will beat you over the head with that word throughout the entire song. And there were just so many times that I was sitting there going, okay, we know that that's the title of the song. Let's move on with whatever this song is supposed to portray.
Right.
I feel like it was just trying to get that Lin-Manuel vibe, but it really did not capture that Lin-Manuel magic.
It wasn't there, which was actually very surprising for me, just because, and I feel like the rhythm and the style was in there, but it wasn't any of the songs that, like, I'm not walking out of the theater singing, which was I was really expecting for me to like walk out of the theater being like, yeah.
And not only that, I couldn't tell you the rhythm or beat, or even besides the one word that was beaten over our heads, any of the lyrics for any of these songs. None of them stuck in your head. None of them are earworms. And I just feel like it was just a missed opportunity with a lot of these songs.
I feel that the more we got into the story and the closer we got to, where we think the story's going to go, essentially Scar or Taka's / Scar's origin, like villain origin story, like we knew that it was coming because there has to be a moment where it showed that, where it establishes it by the time the movie ends. And when that happens, it completely took me out of the movie. It felt really sudden and weird. And then after that, his character became really inconsistent. And I know this movie is about Mufasa, but I feel like Taka / Scar has just as much to do with that story, even though he's not the title character per se. And his character, it just became really inconsistent because he would have trouble speaking to another lion, like couldn't find his words, and then you go and speak to this other lion and all of a sudden he's got a silver tongue, and I was like, where are you two different lions? Because you're showing completely different personalities, and it just doesn't make sense. It wasn't cohesive. And then for a lot of the story, they needed to kind of connect it from what we know of The Lion King today, whether it's the animated or the live action, and it felt so shoehorned in and so on the know that it was kind of cringe.
Yeah, and there were so many moments to where they're like, oh, and don't forget this part in the original movie. Oh, and we're going to reference this part. And I feel like they were just trying to get these moments in there. So
For nostalgia.
For nostalgia,
Yeah.
for fan service. And they didn't really serve a purpose. They were really just in there for that fan service.
Yes.
And they did it multiple times for the same moment in a movie.
Yeah.
So it would just be like, we've already done this. Why do it again?
Right.
And the first time, it didn't really even hit that well.
Right. No, the first time, if you're talking about the part, like, I thought the first time it was good, but the fact that they did it again,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, they should have just done it like once, but it's like 3 times or twice is a little overboard. So with that said, we're gonna go ahead and give you our rating for Mufasa: The Lion King. The movie couple rating is listed for you in the video description below. Look, I was going in hoping for, one, it's directed by Barry Jenkins, so I was kind of like, okay, we've got something here. And second, I was really looking forward to the music by Lin-Manuel Miranda. I had to be convinced whether or not we needed this origin story from Mufasa. Long story short, we don't need it because we have the original and it's told well there. And it feels like they're trying very hard to change something or make something out of what's already really great, that's been established and well known to audiences. So I'm gonna give Mufasa: The Lion King a skip it.
Yeah, I went into this movie with very low expectations, and even those weren't really met. I feel like they made the story extra complicated when it really didn't. The fact that they have to retcon some of the things that they said in the original movie about them being blood brothers, but they're not blood brothers, and how they made Scar's character turn from a loving brother to a villainous character just was like, it turned on a dime, and it did it for the most like easy stereotypical 80s 90s reasons on why someone would turn evil against someone they love. And it was very disappointing, and I'm going to give this movie a skip it.
And there you have it. That is our thoughts on Mufasa: The Lion King. Let us know your thoughts once you've seen it in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.